further back down the course here. We're looking at Mark Walsham. He won't know that Malcolm Elliott has finished with the best time so far. Mark Walsham, another man from Sheffield like Malcolm Elliott. He's trying to match the time of 3:35.5, the British circuit race champion. Not quite doing it, 3:44.1. And that has given Mark Walsham, as you can see here, the second best time so far, pushing Holden out into third slot. Well, Chris Lillywhite, the king of the mountains in the milk race this year, now out on the course. And I wonder what he thinks of Grey Street today, because it really is quite a climb. And all the riders recording good times around the course have not been finishing with the best times because of this climb. Just on the brow there, the finish. Chris Lillywhite, his ambition, not just the time trial, but of course the mountains, 3:51.9. Not a bad time for Lillywhite. Watching here, Sean Yates finish. Remember him in the Tour de France this year. One or two people's favourite for a good time. 3:44.7. That will go down as the third best time. Down the quayside again now, the Tyneside Tyne Bridge in view. There's a sharp right turn for Sean Kelly. Kelly, of course, not doing quite what he would have liked in the Tour de France this year. And his face telling us the story that today, this 1.7 miles race is really very, very hard indeed. Short, fast burst of speed. Not everybody's cup of tea, but they've got to do a good time to make sure that they start this afternoon in a good position for the climbs. Sean Kelly still aiming for that record time so far by Malcolm Elliott of 3:35.5. Great deal of support for Sean, the world's #1. Very, very popular rider indeed. Now the climb of Grey Street. Kelly chasing that time, 3:35.5. He wasn't far away from it at the halfway check. The crowd here in Newcastle enjoying the sight of the world's #1. He's held that since 1983, since computer rankings began. Nobody has ever been world's #1 except Sean Kelly. My goodness me, this is hurting. Using the disc wheels, as all the riders do in these time trials, the funny bikes they call them here. Now Kelly comes up towards the line, the time to beat, 3:35.5. Big burst from Kelly, 3:54.4, it's not good enough. And now the world champion, the rainbow colours of Stephen Roach, the colours we haven't seen too much of in world cycling this year. Stephen Roach out of cycling virtually all season after last year winning the world title, the Tours of France and Italy. Stephen Roach dogged by a recurrence of a knee injury, and now he really wants to impress in the Kellogg's Tour of Britain and prove to himself he's in with a chance of winning the world title again in a couple of weeks in Belgium. There you see the long straight along the quayside. Now we're up Grey Street here. Stephen Roach, I think, is coming back to form. He's hinted it with a couple of good rides in France and Spain before he came here. Nothing sensational, a 6th place in Bordeaux. Just a little bit of a warning, perhaps, that the form is coming back after the injury. Has it all cleared up? This week's certainly going to tell us that. And now Roach comes up towards the line, still looking to beat Elliott's time, which has withstood the passage of time all day today, and it does again. 3:49.6 for Roach. And the man who started out behind Roach is now down on the quayside. Last year's winner, Joey McLaughlin. He's won the honour of starting the final man today, the defending Kellogg's champion. And like Roach too, he's suffering from a knee injury, which appears to be on the mend. Well, this has been a most difficult course here. 1.7 miles, in fact, it turned out to be this morning. A very difficult twisting course. It's called for a lot of skill, and I suspect that's why Malcolm Elliott has done a better time than his more illustrious teammate Sean Yates, because it's called for a great deal of nerve on the tight bends. Not a straight out time trial course at all, and of course here on Grey Street, the sting in the tail. So Joey McLaughlin now fighting to record a good time that'll take him out on the road to York this afternoon as a challenger in the Kellogg's Tour. You mustn't think the prologue time trial is a throwaway event, because once in the milk race, the split between first and second was 5 seconds, and believe me, that was the split 12 days later. So McLaughlin racing up now towards the line, still to beat Elliott's time. 3:35.50 is the time that McLaughlin is aiming for. Look at the face on him. 3:49.40 is a very good time, and that's going to put Elliott up amongst the leaders. Here's the result then. Malcolm Elliott is the winner this morning. Mark Walsham is second. Sean Yates gets third. Holden is fourth. McLaughlin does well here with 6th place. Rouvy well satisfied with 7th. And Keith Reynolds there in 10th spot.
Now, the main feature of this first stage are 3 climbs. First, it's Birkbra, that's a Category 2 climb. Then it's on to Castleton, that's Category 3. And finally for the riders, the toughest test of all, Rosedale Chimney. 1,500 feet to the peak, but to get there, they face a sheer climb. This is where we expect the pack to be split. So, as the large crowd gather here, we hand you back now to Phil Liggett.
So the riders rolling out here of Newcastle upon Tyne. About to anyway, 79 of them. A little bit of a hard luck story indeed for Nigel Bloor. Fell off in a race last Friday in Sheffield, and it was only found out over the weekend. In fact, he'd fractured a bone in his arm, was unable to start this morning's time trial. That's really very, very sad indeed. 79 riders then as we go out across the Tyne Bridge here. And the race at the moment neutralised as the riders make their way out towards Gateshead to the race official start, and it's from there that the 120 miles to York will start to be counted down. Steve Dowse and the Rally Banana team on the right of the picture there, making his way out over the bridge. And there's Gateshead Stadium, home of Brendan Foster of the past, and of course Steve Cram, who we hope will be bringing gold back from Seoul this summer. Just before the riders finally break, a little bit of a repair job going on here for rider number 21, Sean Kelly, the leader of the CAS team. Final adjustments before the Kellogg's Tour of Britain finally breaks for the first full road racing stage. We're heading down now towards Seaton Carew, the first real point of the race this year for us. This is the first TV time sprint. Let me quickly explain these to you, because there are time bonuses for the first 3 riders over the line of 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1 second. Malcolm Elliott will want to be in on the action now, because his lead after this morning's time trial, just 9 seconds. Elliott in the yellow jersey here on the left, going for the sprint, and he looks to me as though he's making light work of the sprint. He's being challenged here by Nick Barnes, but Malcolm Elliott takes the 3 seconds. Barnes gets second place, and it was Henri Manders there who gets a 1 second time bonus for third slot. Now we're out onto the moors, and we're going to see now the first climb. This is the second category climb of Birkbra. All the riders, by the way, have come to the climb together. Joining me today, Paul Sherwin, who has ridden the Tour de France 7 times. Paul, I don't think you were too surprised to see the riders take it easy early on, were you?
Well, not really, because of the situation this morning where all the riders had to get up very early and eat before the prologue, and it made for a very complicated day for the riders, some trying to eat 3 hours before, and I think that's probably why in the first couple of hours we find them not really taking much racing and waiting for the major decisions to be made on these climbs later on in the day.
Well, there's Thomas Wegmuller from Switzerland, a member of Paul Sherwin's team, and his memories go back to May this year when he was second in the Paris-Roubaix Classic, and he would have won that race. I think it's fair to say that. Had a plastic bag not blown into his gears and jammed them up in the last 100 metres of that great race. What a tragedy that was for him. But his bad luck was the joy of Dirk de Mol of Belgium, who went away and won the day. So Thomas Wegmuller drops back. Chris Lillywhite in the blue quarter sleeves there of the Rally Banana team, a rider who's won the King of the Mountains this year in the milk race and in the Circuit de la Sarthe in France. And last year, of course, the same prize went his way in the Nissan Classic in Ireland. And Paul, let's face it, you're the manager of Chris Lillywhite. Is this going to be one of his objectives this week?
Well, obviously one of his major objectives has got to be the King of the Mountains competition. It's a competition he's already won in the milk race previously this year and in the Nissan Classic at the end of last year. So it'll be one of his major objectives, but hopefully he'll probably try and get into the first 10 overall if he can.
All right, well, let's see how it goes on then. We've got Adrian Timmis on the back of the bunch there. There's Lily White, the rider we were just talking about. Keeps the pace nice and tempo style. And I must say, no attacks coming on this first climb. This, a lower second category climb, is not the most difficult. It is quite steep, but it is a main road climb. There's good surface on the tarmac, so the riders are not really in a position where they can launch a lot of attacks. And they know, of course, the steep climb of Rosedale Chimney is still to come.
Well, Lily White's in a good position here. He's in second place as they come up to the top of this climb, and he'll know this climb, having gone up it before in a race called the Saltburn Grand Prix, which is in this area. He's waiting there in second place till he can see the flag with 200 metres to go before he launches his attack.
Well, that's Noel Shostek on the left of our picture here. And it looks to me as though we've got Jan-Erik Oostergaard having go. Is this Giannetti trying to go clear here? Lily White certainly taking his wheel very quickly. No, it is Oostergaard who goes clear. Another new professional from the Belgian Isoclass team. As he makes the pace now a little bit hard for everybody, and we must add, perhaps a little bit hard for himself as well. Lily White's done well to move across here to pick up this wheel. This is exactly how he started his campaign in the milk race, and now he's going for the line here with Mauro Giannetti. Switzerland rider rather, with the Italian sounding name. And Lily White checking out just how it's going, and it seems to be going very well as he comes up towards the top of the climb here. He's got the gap on Giannetti, and Lily White comes clear. So an excellent start to his campaign. Chris Lillywhite over the top of Bergbrow first, Giannetti in second place, and Oostergaard gets a third slot. Malcolm Elliott still happily ensconced in the centre of this bunch as we now make our way out towards the second climb on the moors today. And this is an attack by Henri Abadie. If you can think back to the Tour de France on the road up to Évreux this year, this man was wearing the King of the Mountains jersey in the Tour de France and on the attack for the stage win at Évreux. He lost it on the line. You may remember the almost dead heat then between Acacio da Silva and Stephen Rooks, who went on to finish second. But look at the damage now that Abadie has caused on the climb of the moors. We're heading out now between Bergbrow and over towards Castleton. Look at this, Paul. These are the echelons you don't see too often in British cycling, do you, when the riders split like this?
Well, this goes to show the difference between how the climb before didn't split the race up, but now that they're going up a false flat, the wind from the side is breaking the race to pieces. You can see riders struggling across, trying to get up to the next group as we come up to the front group here, and you can see that it's really not the climb, but it's the false flat with the wind across these moors that's made the big damage in the race today.
Well, there's 37 riders reportedly from our Radio Tour motorcycles. Driven, by the way, this year by former British champion Nigel Dean, who's telling us that, in fact, we have a group of 37. This is Marshal Gayon, who's ahead of them all, and this is Abadie, who's ahead of everybody, including Gayon. He's just checking out to see what's going on, and you can look back there. It looks to me as though Gayon may have been swept up. I didn't catch a glimpse of him, but Abadie is having a go. So the main field are under pressure, and a lot of riders, and I have to tell you that Mark Walsham has had a puncture and is in the back split of this, and remember, he was second this morning in the time trial.
But obviously Abadie, coming back to the front of the race here, has succeeded in doing what he wanted to do. He's managed to, as he's just been caught here, I don't think he's too bothered, because he set out to do what he wanted to do over that false flat. He set the race on fire, and he split the field into this front group and several chasing groups as we look down now.
Well, we're now heading on towards the real heart of the North Yorkshire Moors, the beautiful little village of Castleton, as the riders now make this 50-mile-an-hour descent, and they've made their first selection in the Kellogg's Tour of Britain. Some 30 riders now clear of the field, and as far as we know, none of the pre-race favourites have missed the split. And if they haven't, Paul, it's going to mean that the pressure's going to go on.
Well, the pressure will come on because all these riders have isolated themselves. The one or two of missing teammates. So we've got Sean Yates on the front here, followed, I think, in second place by Stephen Roach, in third place Robert Miller. I think it's going to be one of the strongest teams of this year's Tour of Britain, because they've got a lot of strength in depth, and they'll probably work for each other a lot more than they will have done.
Well, we're now on the climb of Castleton, and the organisers have given this a third category ranking. I have to say, I thought that was a bit mean, because it's a very long climb. It climbs right through the village. The crowd here have been camping out all day. Tour de France atmosphere as we came through the town. And in fact, it looks as though Sean Yates is finding himself a new discipline in world cycling. He's becoming something of a climber as well.
Well, Sean Yates here actually, when you think that he's started the day in third place overall, he's here at the front riding as a teammate to Malcolm Elliott. In second place there is Giannetti, waiting for the next King of the Mountains classification to come, and there just on his right shoulder is Chris Lillywhite from Rally Banana.
Giannetti turning out to be the challenger for the mountains competition today, along with Chris Lillywhite. We're coming up towards the top of the climb now. Lillywhite's going to have a go for this one as well. Remember, he beat Giannetti up the climb at Bergbrow. And there we go. Lillywhite now really grits his teeth and goes for it. Giannetti tries to get his wheel. I don't quite know what Lillywhite said to him then. Almost as if it was a victory salute, I think. He goes over the top. Lillywhite first. Giannetti gets second place. There's confirmation of that. And Stephen Hodge having a good day from Australia. He's in third slot. And now for the big one, because we've had two little testers, the hors d'oeuvre to the major climb of the day. And Dave Mann here, who is trying to bridge the gap with his teammate Dave Rayner. Now, I think, in fact, Paul, Mann came back from the front group to try and get your man, may I add, Dave Rayner, back up with the leaders.
Well, Dave Rayner's missed this move, and Dave Mann has dropped back to help drag him up there.
Well, that's a good move indeed, Paul, but that's what they faced. They're going to join at the wrong time. There's the climb of Rosedale Chimney, and it really is a terrible, terrible climb. The riders on it now, the leaders here on the climb. Joey McLaughlin on the left of our picture, and it's good to see McLaughlin in the front of the action on this climb. He's going to be delighted with that, even if it is looking a little bit hard for him. As they start the climb here now, it is an absolutely vicious climb. 1 in 3 at its steepest point, and the crowds are absolutely enormous on this climb. There you can see it, it lies on the hillside, going out over the top. McLaughlin doing a storming ride up here. Rather like we remember last year on the Tumble climb down in South Wales. And McLaughlin put up a good ride there, even if he did tire a little bit towards the summit, but it's a good climb.
Well, look at Joey here, really suffering to get the gears round. The riders have put massive gears on today. For the people who know a little bit about cycling, they're using 26-tooth sprockets and 42-tooth chainrings at the front, which is really a very small gear for this kind of climb.
I think one or two of them weren't listening this morning, Paul, because they're obviously in all sorts of trouble at the back of the race. They now make the way up this climb. See these riders climb up here, and they always amaze me how they keep such a fine rhythm going. Look at this crowd here. They've come out here literally in their thousands today. Estimated 5,000 people are on this climb today as the riders try to come through the field.
Well, a lot of the riders here at the back of the bunch here, obviously overgeared and suffering on the right-hand side there. Serge Demier has just climbed off to walk up, and taking one of the riders from BH here, taking his shoes off to climb up the mountain.
That was poor old Eduardo Ruiz, who's decided to make a walk. Rather surprising, a man from Spain. I thought he might have been better equipped for this climb. As we start to go towards the top, Giannetti then, who's turning out to be something of a sensation today on the mountains for the Swiss team. Weinmann, it's a new team this year, running on a budget of nearly £3 million, and so I suppose they should turn out some top riders. There's the long climb, and there are all the parked cars of the spectators, thankfully parked on one side of the road only to leave some room for the riders. These are the leaders now making the way up. Well, remember, we came to the bottom of this climb with something like 25 riders. Now we're seeing Giannetti here ride them off his wheel towards the top, and it looks to me now it'll depend on the position of Lillywhite, but Lillywhite is no longer in this group as far as we know. He was dropped at the start of the climb, so Giannetti has shed Lillywhite, the winner of the two previous climbs, and that's going to mean, if it's true, that Giannetti will be the king of the mountains and wearing that polka dot jersey tomorrow when he gets down to York. 80 miles covered now, the riders facing the best part of 40 miles before the finish in York. And this is now Giannetti, who's done a terrific ride here to go completely ahead of the field. And it looks to me, Paul, as though he's hardly out of breath.
Well, he's suffered at the first part of the climb when the riders were a little bit overgeared, but he's got a very good rhythm going now, and he could well be one of the finds of this year's Tour of Britain, because he's got a fine pedalling style, sitting comfortably on the saddle, just ticking those gears over.
And this is the chaos behind. You can see the crowd a little bit better from this shot. The red jersey there is Rob Holden at 20 years of age, the best rider under 23. He has been in this break. Just ahead of Rob Holden there is Rob Miller, the Scottish climber, who did that storming ride in Guzet-Neige in the Tour de France, only to miss the final turn and lose that stage in the Tour de France. Right at the top of the hill now. Gianetti then takes maximum points on the steepest climb of the Tour of Britain so far this week. And he's really now going to believe that Switzerland isn't the only place with mountains, as we now will begin the descent as we head off the moors and down towards the finish. There's the small group, and there is the result of that climb. Gianetti gets 12 points, Stephen Hodge having a great day second, Abadi third. Malcolm Elliott, the yellow jersey, has put up a storming ride to finish fourth, but just look at this now at the back of the race. The leaders made it look easy, now are being treated to Tour de France scenes here. Spectators are trying to push the riders up the climb. I suspect that the judges will be doling out the penalties tonight. So you see the riders here now under pressure. Number 42 is Marnix Lemire, a prolific winner on the flat, but I'm afraid he's going to be nowhere near the front at York today. Belgian rider. Number 30, Ian Sanders going through. Number 60 was Ian Fagan here on the left of the picture. And now you can feel the gradient through the legs of these riders as they really take the punishment on the climb. And Stuart Coles, number 18, a Welshman from Glamorgan. And a helping hand there for number 57, Graham Jones, at 20th. And Coles has dismounted. Coles has actually got off his bike here, and he's just about managing to walk around the spectators. So that's a sad sight indeed. Meanwhile, we're back up with the leaders, and it's Gianetti who has been caught by some 18 riders here. This will give us a front group of 19 men, and I think this group is now going to go clear.
Well, look here as we look down from the helicopter, all these riders sharing the pace setting at the front, back down onto the flat after the climb, and we can see the riders sharing the pace, trying to build up as big a lead as they can, because they know that this year's Kellogg's Tour can be disputed between them.
Well, we're on the bottom road now, and all of these riders, despite the fact they are in separate teams, now working together because they've thinned this race out from 79 riders this morning to just 19 riders. Marshall Gayon from the Toshiba team here, Sean Kelly, his ally for the moment, and the riders now heading out towards Helmsley as we go along the bottom road off the moors, and this is beginning now to look like an excellent breakaway indeed. And I think you know that the way these riders have split the field, they went so slowly at the beginning of the race, but once the climbs began, the selection was made very, very quickly indeed. Thomas Wegmuller slips away as we're left here with Mark Madio. Rob Holden is one of the finds today, 20 years of age. Tremendous ride by Holden to keep that red jersey of best young rider. Robert Miller, the rider's now approaching Helmsley. We're in the outskirts of Helmsley here now. This is the third sprint of the day. Elliott scored very, very well so far today. Big sprint here now. Malcolm Elliott, the yellow jersey, again in the thick of the action. Sean Yates is the man doing the work for him. Yates brings him out. Elliott gets it. Yates is second, and third is McLaughlin. There's the situation as they come into York. This leading group containing Gianetti, Malcolm Elliott, Pedersen, Mark Madio, Rob Holden. In fact, in all, 19 riders in this leading group now as they enter the city of York. Then we'll go through the finishing line, and then they'll face 5 full circuits of the finishing lap of the city. What a climax this has been. These 19 men coming together over the final 40 miles of the racing today, and it really has been quite a selection. And a surprise, but a delightful one. Stephen Roach, the world champion, on the front of this breakaway, proving to us all now he's back in the sport this season with a vengeance. And look at this pace making by Stephen Roach. And the lovely backdrop here of York Minster. This has got to be one of Britain's prettiest cities. And the crowd all the way around, and it's the Fagor boys, this team of a mixture of nationalities. The team itself is a Spanish sponsor based in France and being led by an Irishman. Work that one out.
Strange thing today, Phil, is that of the Fagor team, it's all the English-speaking riders are in the front. The one French rider, Bernard Richard, he was left behind on one of the earlier climbs. We've got all the English-speaking riders of this Fagor team as Stephen Rhodes comes through again into first place with Sean Yates in second, and Malcolm there in third place, just tucked in behind them.
Noticeable too, Paul. McLaughlin has come up there into fourth place. That's the rider you can just catch a glimpse of in the white jersey with the blue band on. He's up into fourth place, and he's getting confidence as this race goes on. Indeed, this looks to me now as though we're coming round towards the fourth and final TV time sprint here. Roach is going to take this on the line in 3 seconds, or was it Elliott? Very close indeed. Elliott was right up there. 4 laps to go now. But Elliott again in the bonuses, and surely that's done enough for him now to keep his yellow jersey at least today. The line all together, one rider we may catch a glimpse of as there he is. Rob Holden is in a little bit of difficulty here. The youngest rider in the race at 20 years of age put up a tremendous performance today, and the Bilton team must be really proud of him. We've got Sean Yates taking his turn as the man at the front to keep the pace high to stop the attacks coming. Roach has dropped back into second place. Robert Miller has come up, another Fagor man, into third slot, and the yellow jersey of Elliott in fourth. You can't have a better team than that, Paul.
Well, they've got all the riders up in the front here, keeping it very, very fast, and you can see how much of a risk they're taking trying to get round these corners. The roads are very, very narrow, and the only thing to do to keep out of danger is to keep at the front, get your team to keep the pace high and stay out of danger, because the danger is at the back when the riders are accelerating out of the corners.
It's a tricky little circuit, this one, and it's got 1 or 2 cobbled surfaces as well, but it's been a marvellous sunny day, not a hint of rain. The moors have never looked better, and the riders might not agree, but to everybody watching the Tour today, it's been marvellous. And now Sean Yates trying to bring it down to a good finish. He'll be thinking too of that rider in yellow, Malcolm Elliott. They could be celebrating tonight with the yellow jersey hanging at the foot of the bed of Malcolm Elliott. He's done a lot today. He won the prologue, then he was in action in the TV time sprints for the small time bonuses. As it's turning out, they have been imperative in the search to keep the yellow jersey tonight. Well, Sean Kelly's not too far down this line. He's got a yellow jersey on, not the leader's yellow jersey, by the way. That's his Spanish cast team colours. And he may well be taking advantage of this high speed, and he'll probably be thinking, let them do the work, and we'll see what I can do when it comes to the finish. We'll see, because Sean Kelly not too far away from the action, and with all the experience one can need in world cycling, Kelly has the lot. A nice view there of the York Minster from our helicopter position. And now back down with the brave men of world television, the riders who shoot these boys from the cameras at the back of motorcycles. They are the bravest men in the world, in my book, and they get some terrific shots. And now you can see the whole field, or the leading field, the men that really have established themselves now as the men in the Kellogg's Tour of Britain this week. They're going to follow each other around now, man for man, as we make our way down through the Pennines over the next few days into the Cotswolds, and of course finally to Westminster. Certainly it's not safe for Malcolm Elliott. Even if he does keep his yellow jersey today, it'll only be by a handful of seconds. King of the Mountains confirmed, by the way, that is Gianetti. He'll wear the polka dot jersey tomorrow morning, having won the climb of Rosedale Chimney and finished second on the other 2 big climbs of the day. There we are, 1 lap to go to the finish, and they're going to come towards the finishing line now, all very much together. One last go at who's going to win, Paul.
Well, at this stage of the game, Phil, I really wouldn't like to stick my neck out. I noticed Frederic Vichot was moving up there, quite a fast finisher. He had a little bit of a fight with Sean Yates in one of the Tour de France stages, so I'm not sure.
Well, let's see then. Paul Sherwin did very well at picking them out on the Tour de France. And Yates goes through noticeably now. They've dropped down the back of the line. They may feel now that they've done the work of keeping the pace together. Now they'll expect Malcolm Elliott to do his bit of work and go and take the stage. Let's see if that happens now. This, in fact, is not the leading group. These are the stragglers of the next group onto the circuit. And it looks to me as though, I think it's Ruith talking there to Dave Rayner on the left of our picture. And they are running quite a few minutes behind the leaders. Now, we'll go and shortly pick up the leaders again. This is Rayner bringing the back group through. He's had a hard day today. He almost contacted the leaders. In fact, he did do so at the climb of Rosedale Chimney, and then he was left again. Way down below then, the leaders are making the way around the Minster for the last time. Just on the other side now, and it looks like an attack here. This is one of the cast riders. It's not Kelly. In fact, it's Thomas Wegmuller who's going clear. He's looked over his shoulder, and this could catch Elliott off guard. Elliott's the other yellow jersey looking across, and I think it's McLaughlin very close to him as well. It is. McLaughlin goes round. Malcolm Elliott takes him round. And now this is what will always happen. One rider jumps clear before the sprint. Wegmuller has the break here now. Elliott after him. Elliott takes close second place there now. Then we've got McLaughlin in third spot. Wegmuller's got a length here, and surely Wegmuller's going to get it. Elliott comes. Elliott right on the line. Where did he find that speed from? We'll have a look at that again in slow motion, but I think Malcolm Elliott took it, and I think Malcolm Elliott thinks he did as well. Well, that is absolutely unbelievable. If he has, that's the double today for Malcolm Elliott, and that's something of a uniqueness in world cycling. I don't recall anybody winning the prologue in the morning and in the afternoon taking the road race. This is the sprint. Elliott is in second place here. Somehow he's found the strength to take the victory. A win for Elliott, second Wegmuller, third Joey McLaughlin, and there's the overall: Elliott, McLaughlin and Yates and Roach. Well, today's route is not easy. It's 106 miles across the backbone of England, the Pennines, and one surprise the organisers have in store: a cobble climb in Halifax. They call it the Shibden Wall. Indeed they do, but it doesn't seem to be worrying Malcolm Elliott here, who's nice and happy as he makes his way out on this second day, resplendent in the yellow jersey, the coveted symbol of world cycling that everybody wants. Last year's winner wearing 13 this year, Joey McLaughlin, but it looks as though Elliott, his teammates here, are in a little bit of trouble. That's Stephen Roach, the world champion, and wearing number 1, who seemed to have a mechanical problem. He's underway. And another rider here in trouble, receiving mechanical assistance. That's Sean Yates wearing number 2. So the Fagor team in action at both the front and the back of the race already today. On the climb now of Keckskill, this is on the road down towards Skipton, and it looks like a good attack here by Joey McLaughlin. And Thomas Wegmuller not too far adrift of him either, and this is the first real action of the race today. In fact, this is Aberdeen on the front of the race. This climb, a main road climb, as we go down between Harrogate and Skipton, out on the moors yet again. The riders are going to see plenty of the moorland roads this week. And the leader in the King of the Mountains, Gianetti, coming through now, bringing the riders back up to the 2 leaders. He had a wonderful day yesterday, Mauro Gianetti, and he's out now to try and defend his lead there. Sean Kelly, too, trying to have a little attack. Leading riders score the points, and Gianetti trying to get maximum points here. First climb of the day. Good sprint going on here towards the top. Stephen Hodge, this is in fact taking on. Stephen Hodge goes. Chris Lillywhite comes up on our left. So Chris Lillywhite goes clear, and Stephen Hodge is in second place. So Lillywhite again coming up in the action. So Lillywhite wins the climb, just as he did yesterday, the first climb of the race. Hodge was second, and Kelly was in fact third. Now Dave Mann on the attack as we head out away from Keckskill and on towards Silsden and Keighley. And Dave Mann, a local rider, he knows the area very well indeed. He comes from Fagley near Bradford, and he will have trained many hours around these roads. Down at the feeding station at Silsden now, and in fact news reaching us that Mann has built a lead of over 3 minutes. And there's confirmation of that indeed. 3 minutes 15 seconds for Dave Mann over the main field. They don't look to me as though they're too interested in the goings-on of this Rally Banana rider at the moment. On the top of the Dog and Gun Hill here. And Dave Mann now has a lead of 4 minutes as far as we can ascertain. And again, a climb he's been over before. And there's confirmation of the climb of the Dog and Gun Hill. Dave Mann taking the prize over the top. Second was Gianetti. Chris Lillywhite was third. And now the major challenge of the day. There you can see it right at the middle of our picture. And here we can now view Dave Mann on it. The cobble climb of Shibden Wall. Mann has come to this climb with a lead of 2:35, and in fact he hasn't been climbing it too well, and the gap has been tumbling down, and we understand that the rider doing the damage, Sean Kelly, and in fact his Cass Mavic team. Over the top then, and Mann is on a little bit smoother road now. We can go further back down the climb. This is the chasing group. It's thinned out a little bit in fact, as the riders have now tried to bring back. There is Kelly on the far side. This is Adrian Timmis here in the white in the Zeb Peugeot team. But all the riders now are trying to close down this gap, which is just over 2 minutes. One of the finds in the red jersey of this tour certainly is Rob Holden, the young under-23 rider. And you can see one rider there in all sorts of trouble. Slipped a gear, I think, as he's tried to come up the climb. Dave Rayner, just behind the red jersey of Holden here. Another rider who comes from Bradford. I wonder if he knows this climb, though, because nobody's raced on this wall before. It's just on the outskirts of Halifax, but it certainly isn't on the main roads. The organisers really have done a little bit of heart searching on the Ordnance Survey maps for this one. Aberdeen here, early leader in the King of the Mountains in the Tour de France this year. But I bet he never saw a cobbled hill like this in that race. They all struggle now. The world's #1 world champion on the far side. The rainbow jersey of Roach getting stronger by the day. Still a real fancied man for victory in this race as we continue down towards London. Darrell Webster here from the Doors team, just passing through our picture. Seems you have to have a knee injury to be a star in the world of cycling these days, because Webster's had one, so has Stephen Roach, so too of course is Joey McLaughlin, and now they're all coming back to the top of their form this year. This climb gets steeper as it gets longer, and this is Sean Yates now. Not quite as fluid as he is once he gets back on the flat roads, but even so, he's making a nice steady tempo for himself. And look at this, looks like a spectator trying to follow Yates there. He's advised him to take the smoother road, and he's followed the advice of the rest of the field. So the whole field here is on the paving, on the pavement of the climb. And I suspect sooner or later we're going to see the spectators on the cobblestones, who knows. Oh, there they are. Sean Kelly here, taking the smooth way up. This reminds me of a famous climb in Belgium called the Mur de Grammont, the Wall of Grammont, because that is a very, very tough climb, very steep indeed, and it doesn't have a smooth sidewalk to it either. 200 metres to go to the top, that's what the green flag means, and this crowd of club cyclists and general spectators are really enjoying the spectacle. There is the crowd right down there as the riders struggle up. Halifax, in fact, is over the dip, and you can't quite see it. Dave Mann, long gone by the way, he's heading down to Halifax, although his lead is still coming down. It's about 1:50 now, we understand. But Sean Kelly finding good form. He's driving this group along. I think that's Mark Madio alongside him there with the red trousers on. And as they go over the top, Mann's gone. Kelly, in fact, it's Yvon Madio up there in third place. McLaughlin keeps in close touch in fourth. And now we look out towards Home Moss, the last big climb of the day in the backbone of the Pennine chain. A climb up from Home Firth, and Dave Mann has been caught. We heard he was only about 40 seconds ahead at the start of the climb, and it looks as though he knew he wasn't going to make the top. He's been in the lead, in fact, for best part of 44 miles. But the bunch has done what they wanted to do, and they've come up alongside Dave Mann, and they're not even giving him the courtesy of a glance as they go by. Not Stuart Coles, rather, he was regrettably disqualified. That was Steve Dowse on the front of the Rally Banana team, but now the race under pressure again. Another massive crowd come out onto another beauty spot of Great Britain, and this is Giannetti having a go again. He really is turning out to be quite a star climber and the man to beat in this King of the Mountains competition. I think we'll agree with that. Henri Abadie joining him here. And Abadie then, another good climber, joins Giannetti. Two riders in their element when the roads go steeply upwards. The sky not so blue as it was on the North Yorkshire moors. Sean Kelly comes to the burst now. This is a sprinter developing into a climber, because Kelly gets maximum points, 12 points. There's the confirmation. Giannetti is second, and Henri Abadie is third. And by the way, Madio fourth. Malcolm Elliott was fifth. There's the finish line down below us there in Albert Square in the heart of the city of Manchester. The circuit now occupied by the leading riders here as they come through now with 5 full laps of the circuit to go. And the field generally regrouped, some 41 riders in fact being led here at the moment by Mike Doyle are all together. So Mike Doyle on the front, followed by Steve Jones. And the PMS Doors team anxious to do well here today because this is their base, and I believe their sponsors are on site. And they also have another reason to do well, because after the day's fighting amongst themselves in the TV time sprints, if Nick Barnes can score well on the last sprint, which is at the end of the next circuit, then he will be the overall leader of that competition. Because remember, today he wears the white jersey of leader, that's true, but in fact it's Malcolm Elliott in the yellow jersey who is on top of the TV time sprint classification. So a good piece of teamwork here, Paul.
Well, this is again a piece of teamwork by the PMS Doors team. The two riders taking turns to ride at the front. On the front, you've got Mike Doyle swinging over here to ask Steve Jones to come through and keep the speed high, because they'd like to get Nick Barnes into a good position to try and take this hotspot sprint competition.
Steve Jones then, a late replacement, remember, for Shane Sutton, who sadly broke his collarbone literally 2 days before this race began. And Steve Jones really deserved his place anyway, because he was third this year in the milk race. Now the riders then, a little bit surprised to see such a big field, I must admit, after the race today. But now the sprint, by the way, is on. This is John Clay, and that is Barnes, his teammate in his slipstream. So Clay playing here the perfect teammate, or is he going for it himself? Because John Clay has started with a great sprint here, and Barnes is struggling to keep up on him as we go over the square here. In fact, John Clay put his brakes on there to allow Nick Barnes to go through in first place. Barnes, Paul, trying to continue the attack.
Well, a good piece of teamwork by Jonathan Clay there, putting the brakes on to let Nick Barnes come through. And Nick, having seen the gap that he'd got, he's carried on over the top to try and come away and sneak away from this group. But you can see straight away the chase being organised behind by the Fagor boys, as it was yesterday. And I think I could just see coming to the front there Robert Miller, in second place Sean Yates. Again, they're whipping up the pace because they don't want any breaks going away on this circuit, because they want to keep Malcolm Elliott's place at the top of the general classification safe. And why not another stage win for Malcolm Elliott today?
Just look at that long line of riders, long line now. We're into the last 3 laps of the race, so the next 4 or 5 minutes or so is all that it will be. And the whole field, 41 riders there are in this big bunch, but we understand that the rest of the race is varying in time gaps from about 7 minutes to as much as 17 minutes behind today.
Well, Robert here back on the front, and you see how these two riders are sharing turns to break into the wind. Sean Yates slipping back a little bit, looking a little bit worse for wear today, because he's had a very hard day, changed his bike, had a wheel change, and he's been having to keep up. As we come back to this group here, these are in fact stragglers who are going to be something like 5 or 6 minutes behind the leading group here, as we come back to Robert Miller, who's doing his stint at the front with Sean Yates tucked in second place. In a minute, as you see Robert changing gear, he'll swing over to let Sean Yates come through and do his little turn in the wind.
And so the long thin line indicates that the elastic being stretched here by 2 of the world's, not just Britain's, greatest bike riders, Robert Miller on the left and Sean Yates, who's now taking up the pacemaking yet again. Stephen Roach isn't too far away. It's interesting to note that Pensek continually rides in 3rd or 4th place in this line, might well be looking for the win. And of course, remember a year ago when we came into Manchester in the first Kellogg's Tour of Britain from Newcastle, it was in fact Joey McLaughlin who was the winner here then. He's not too far away either, and McLaughlin naturally went on to win the race overall. So we still have Elliott on the front. I beg your pardon, we still have Yates on the front. Elliott's the man in the yellow jersey, and every time Sean Yates comes around that corner, he almost clips those barriers with his shoulder.
Well, Sean is a little bit of a kamikaze. It's amazing how he just pushes it right to the limit every time. I think it comes a little bit from the fact that in his spare time he likes to ride a motorbike, and he gets a big thrill when he can touch the floor with his knees. I think he's trying to do the same thing with those barriers with his shoulders today. Robert Miller comes through now on Sean to do his little turn at the front, as they're keeping the pace very, very high. But behind them, what will be happening now is all the sprinters in this group will be moving up to the front to wait for the next 2 laps, because that's when they'll be moving into the limelight to try and steal the glory.
There we are, 2 laps to go as we pass the town hall. And Robert Miller is the rider now doing his little bit at the front. And Yates gritting his teeth here and doing a tremendous job. Pensek there in 3rd place. And just a little bit further down the line, I think we've got Stephen Roach. I can also see Malcolm Elliott. The green jersey there of Joey McLaughlin. Elliott's chosen to follow Joey McLaughlin's wheel. Elliott in yellow, McLaughlin in the green jersey as points leader. But in fact, for the moment at least, Malcolm Elliott also leads in that competition. And McLaughlin is the guest wearer of the jersey because he is in fact in second overall place as the second most consistent rider in the Tour this year so far. Still, we have the Fagor pair on the front. As we go back a little way, just a little bit further around the circuit, we've got the stragglers coming in. They are in fact just on 6 minutes behind, but the gap on the circuit means that this leading group here is beginning to get them in their sights. Now, this could be a serious situation if the group picks up those stragglers, because it would mean a very, very confusing finish, and that would give the judges, not to say the riders, one or two problems. Let's see. Let's hope, in fact, that doesn't happen. Yates, the man from Forest Row in Sussex, having his best ever season and now doing all of the work here to keep this race together in the hope that Malcolm Elliott in the yellow will do a City of York finish and win here in Manchester in a couple of minutes' time.
Well, it always amazes me the position that Sean Yates has on his bike, because it's so aggressive. He's down, for a big man, he's down so low on that bike. As you can see him rocking his shoulders, getting every last little bit of energy out now. He's gritting his teeth there. Sean, amazingly up there in third place overall, not even thinking about that. His teammate, Malcolm Elliott, is leading. Sean in third place doesn't mean anything to him at all. All it means, all he's worried about is getting Malcolm Elliott there in a suitable position to try and keep hold of this yellow jersey. There you can just see Stephen Roach has now moved past Ponsek into third place, and again, as the day before, we've got the three English-speaking Fagor riders defending the lead of Malcolm Elliott.
Well, coming up towards the bell this time, we're catching glimpses all of the time of that straggling group not too far ahead. This is going to be touch and go, because if anybody from this group can take a flyer into the left riders, as they would be, the confusion could mean a win for somebody here that will not be Malcolm Elliott. We're on the final lap of the centre of the circuit at Manchester now, and that's Robert Miller still insisting on keeping this pace high, and Sean Yates content too to stay up there in second place. We should be seeing now the progress of the man in yellow, and there he is, Malcolm Elliott, still on the wheel of Joey McLaughlin. The world champion Stephen Roach in third place. This is a fine effort by Robert Miller now to keep this line as long and thin as possible, to stop anybody lifting the pace anymore, to make progress up the bunch towards the sprint finish. So the order then: Miller on the front, Yates changing up a gear as he stays in second place. We can't quite see it, but there we are. Stephen Roach, the world champion, is third. Malcolm Elliott now taking a close line in fifth place. One or two intruders trying to get through there, and if they do, well, that will cause a little bit of confusion for everybody concerned. This is a great ride here by Robert Miller. You can't take any of this away from him. If Malcolm Elliott wins tonight, the first man he should thank are these two, Miller and Yates, because they're setting it up as best they know how. That is Willie Willems there on the right in the lime green jersey, a younger professional rider who is in trouble on the climb of Home Moss. He certainly isn't now. He's on the flat roads. Home from home in the centre of Manchester, always the chance: suffer when it hurts and get back in the action when you recover. That's the motto in professional cycling. And still at that barrier there, it's Yates who comes round, keeps it tight, but surely he can't keep this up now. McLaughlin has taken second place. Elliott consistently following Joey McLaughlin there. Won't come off his wheel, stays there in his slipstream. McLaughlin knows it now. McLaughlin looked to his left, didn't see Elliott, looked to his right and saw him. But this now is an attack by the PMS Doors team. It's John Clay going again. John Clay has the advantage now. McLaughlin's chasing Clay. Elliott's chasing McLaughlin. And this is John Clay now trying for the victory. McLaughlin through on the inside first. That first rider's a straggler. Looks over his shoulder. So there is a little bit of confusion here, because that's a straggler. This is the race for the line, and McLaughlin's going to get it. Joey McLaughlin repeats history on the line. He did it a year ago. On that occasion, he went on to win the Kellogg's Tour. I wonder what he's thinking now. Joey McLaughlin beats the current leader of the Kellogg's Tour, Malcolm Elliott, and he did it right on the line. Well, here we can see how he did it. He held his line very tight. He kept Elliott on his left shoulder, pushed him wide, and then sprinted for the line. His face tells the story. Victory is Joey's. That's how to do it. So there then is the result. Joey McLaughlin the winner, Elliott pushed back to second, John Clay third, Barnes and Kelly. That's the order. And no wins today in the King of the Mountains competition for Mauro Giannetti, but a very consistent day indeed. He keeps his lead in that competition. There's the confirmation, 8 points advantage over Sean Kelly, a great day, and Stephen Hodge as well, a good day for him. Chris Lillywhite is fourth, Malcolm Elliott is fifth. Now we're looking here at the white jersey, and that final sprint here in the city of Manchester was enough for Nick Barnes. He's now got the overall lead by a single point off Malcolm Elliott, with Mark Walsham third. A look then at the overall situation. Malcolm Elliott on top of the pile, leading by 20 seconds from Joey McLaughlin. In third place, Elliott's teammate Sean Yates. Fourth, the world champion Stephen Roach. And fifth, Thomas Wegmuller, Sean Kelly's teammate from the CAS team. A little bit further down the list, you've got Ronan Pensek in 7th slot. And Kelly was the big improver yesterday. He moved up from 10th to 9th overall. One man already out on the road very early this morning, Paul McDowell. He's out on the course to give us now the complete rundown on what faces the riders today on the road to Liverpool.
Unfortunately, a lot of low clouds spoiling what is one of the most scenic routes from Manchester to Liverpool on this third stage. I'm at the top of the Trough of Bowland. If you've never heard of it or been here, it is in fact one of Lancashire's most famous beauty spots. It takes them 1,500 feet above sea level. It's a Category 2 climb. And it's here too that yesterday's stage winner Joey McLaughlin has put in many hours of practice. Well, will that familiarity aid him in his...
Well, the riders then lining up here in Albert Square in Manchester. And a lot of riders, in fact, are local to this area because the northwest of England has turned out some marvellous racing cyclists over the years. Many, many national champions and indeed world champions such as Norman Shiel, who came from Liverpool. Here we are then on the way. And this is Mark Walsham, the British circuit race champion in the Percy Bilton team. Steve Jones in the blue sleeves on the far side there, chatting with the two Fager boys, Malcolm Elliott in yellow, of course, Sean Yates, Steve Sefton on the left. Now, what's happening at the back of the race? This, in fact, is Dave Mann, our breakaway hero yesterday. Seems to be making a wheel adjustment and getting back in the race. And Joey McLaughlin too, dropping back to his team car, driven by team manager Roger Leger, and wow, he's gone. Well, all that's behind the race during the neutralised section, because the flag they're denoting now that the race is starting, and the race now is officially underway. Or is it?
Yeah.
It looks as though it's still time for a phone call for Stephen Roach here, the world champion, keeping an eye on things from the back. What would he have done in the days without cellular phones? So here we are now coming into Rochdale here, the site of the first TV time sprint, and this is Andy Johnson on the attack for the Air Marshal team, and it's good to see this young team having a go. They don't seem to be at all afraid of the competition this year in the race. Johnson then clear. This, I think, the most trickiest of all the sprints so far in the TV time sprint. It goes through a number of chicanes, around a couple of roundabouts as it crosses right through the centre of Rochdale. Well, Johnson has the lead at the moment, but the field are closing up rapidly on him. Remember, the leader of this competition is Nick Barnes. He wears the white jersey. That looks like Barnes trying to move in on the action now in third place. And Nick Barnes going here on the left of the picture. It's a difficult sprint, this one, but he gets it. Good for Nick Barnes. Maximum points. Mark Walsham second, and Alan Percy, a new professional of just a few days, in third place. Well, all the way we've been heading out here towards the Lancashire moors, and the low clouds have been coming down and down, and it could be that very soon we're going to be into the first of the wet stages of this year's Kellogg's Tour. Caping up, Paul, for Stephen Roach.
Well, this is a very dangerous time in most of the races because a lot of the teams send riders back to the team cars to pick up these racing capes, and a lot of riders at the back will struggle to get back onto the climb because they've been back into the team cars getting racing capes for the team leaders. You can see two of the riders here struggling.
Well, they've chosen a bad time because we're on what is quite a long climb here out of Bacup. This is the first of the 2 climbs today. It's only a 3rd category. I think the judges a little bit hard here because this is quite a difficult climb. And we've got Lillywhite up here in 2nd place, who's trying to do well on the climbs. Remember his rivalry with Gianetti. That is Gianetti just over the back in the blue hat. You can spot him. He's riding on the shoulder of Chris Lillywhite. Stephen Hodge here is coming to the front too for the Cas Mavic team because Sean Kelly is also challenging in this mountains competition. And if you can see the 2 yellow riders in the background there, Sean Kelly is the one on the left. And he's waiting to see sight of the finish of the climb before he makes a move.
As we come up to the... you can see Stephen Hodge there, who's actually leading his own sprint out with... looks like Frederic Vichot was leading out Gianetti before. This is quite a reasonable tactic to keep the speed high so that the 2 riders going for the... just back there, looks as if Sean Yates just nearly clipped a car. They're leading the sprint out so that the riders going for the sprint don't have to make too long an effort into the wind.
So the riders on the wet roads, remember, and they're a little bit greasy because we haven't had too much rain. But now the sprint beginning to be wound up here by Stephen Hodge in the centre of the picture. Lillywhite on the left trying to get round Hodge. Hodge has opened the running for the line then. Remember, Gianetti isn't too far behind in the white jersey there. But we've got Hodge here on the left of the corner. And it looks as though we've also got on the behind him now Lillywhite, Gianetti. These 3 are going clear. Hodge is making a break for it. Good positioning here by Lillywhite. Kelly sprung onto the scene there from nowhere. 100 metres to go now. Kelly in 4th place. They've got Gianetti boxed on the inside as Lillywhite opens the sprint. Lillywhite checks out the opposition. He sees Kelly. Good enough though. Lillywhite gets it. Kelly is 2nd, and the judges have awarded Gianetti the 3rd place. So good scoring then by Lillywhite, and the 2 rivals neck and neck for that one. Well, the very slippery descent here. The riders taking no chances. This is Darrell Webster on the front, a rider who picked up no less than 40 British medals in championships before he turned professional this year, and yet another rider out of action until now because of injury. Well, on the long descent here, the riders keeping it in check at around 45 miles an hour, which for this sort of descent is not terribly quickly. So time for Roach to make another phone call, this time with his cape on. So whatever the subject was earlier, this is the return coming up now. Well, they never cease to amaze me, these bike riders, but they've chosen to neutralise the race a little bit here. The road's drying out again. The world champion shows us off again his rainbow jersey. And in fact, Alan Gornall here now, who had been allowed a lead earlier on to go and visit friends in Clitheroe, and he's now coming back to the main field. And this is Stephen Roach here, absolutely sprinting out of the pack, it appears, to speak with Gornall. And I've got a feeling that Roach here is not at all amused at the time that Alan Gornall has spent out front. Well, the riders all back together again, and the pack do have this rule amongst themselves that they let riders go out and meet friends, and then they must come back, and it looks to me as though they weren't too bothered earlier on, but they didn't like what happened afterwards. Now we're on to the Trough of Bowland here, heading out now into the wilds of Lancashire. Malcolm Elliott looking a little bit wet and bedraggled for the moment in that yellow jersey, and in fact, Paul, all of the riders are looking to me as though they've not enjoyed this early rain.
Well, it's hardens up the muscles quite a lot, the rain, and you notice that now that they're getting to the climb, all the riders, although it's still very damp, they're taking off the raincoats so they can breathe a lot better, because you find when you race in these raincoats, it tends to overheat you quite a lot, and when you get to the strategic point, they all start ripping off the raincoats again.
Well, there's plenty of action going on at the front now as the field is beginning to be strung out a little bit. One or two news is reaching us in retirements today, I'm afraid. Pascal Richard, the world cyclo-cross champion who crashed out of the Tour de France, has abandoned this morning already. And also Glenn Coltman has left us, so two riders out of the race today. And now you can see the field here is now well strung out as they start to come along the main moorland roads. One One or two shouts there from the crowd as we look now through the rain on our camera lens. An attack by a rider there in a white jersey. That'll be La Wyman Suisse colours going clear. The pack are not reacting at all. They've seen him go, there's no doubt about that, because you've got that arrowhead on the front of the pack, but he's going clear. And this looks to me as though it's Serge Demier, the Swiss member of the new team that's formed this year, and they're having a tremendously successful season. They're led by Steve Bauer, the Canadian, normally, and there's confirmation of that. Demier it is. And what about him, Paul? A strong man indeed.
Well, Demier is a very renowned rider for this kind of attack. He's actually been a professional since 1977. He won a stage in the Tour de France in 1983 in a lone effort like this. He also won a time trial in around about 1983 as well with his teammate Daniel Gissiger. So this solitary effort, he's quite used to it.
Well, let's see what the bunch think of this. The gap is opening and the field are looking to me as though they're beginning to chase a little bit. It's a long, long way to go, of course, as we go down towards Dunsop Bridge on the Trough of Bowland. And once on that climb, who knows what could happen. Demier, remember, is a long break specialist, but he's facing now 77 miles on his own. That is rather an awesome prospect. On the climb now of the Trough of Bowland, couple of chasing riders trying to get clear down there of the field and take up the chase as they now enter the trough itself. This climb, by the way, is very narrow. The crowds reported on the summit to be quite large.
Well, there you can see the BH rider who was chasing, trying to get across to Serge Demier, followed by the policeman of the Wyman team to prevent him getting across. Demier's attacked at a very strategic point here. It's very narrow roads, and if he can get a lead of about 20-25 seconds, what will be advantageous to him is the fact that it's a question of out of sight, out of mind, but it's very hard to get that initial 25 seconds.
Well, he's riding very, very well indeed. I must tell a little story while we're looking here at Demier on the climb of the Trough of Bowland, because when Sean Kelly went up this hill at 18 years of age in the milk race a few years ago now, because he's 32, he was lying in third place overall in the event when his bike collapsed and he finished many, many minutes behind when he was certain to have achieved third place in that event at 18. And I would have thought that Sean Kelly would have been demoralised beyond belief. He certainly wasn't, and of course, as we all now know, he's gone on to be the #1 rider in the world. This then, after that little anecdote, is the back of the field today in the second Kellogg's Tour of Britain, and Kelly is in that big bunch somewhere, and this is the rider doing the damage out front. The climb then of the Trough of Bowland, and Serge Demier almost looked to me as though he had a little sneeze then, probably caught a chill already after the rain falling an hour or so ago. Not too bad the weather here, in fact now it's beginning to warm up a bit and the cloud lifting, but a lot of descending to go. This is the last climb of the day. It's not been a difficult stage for climbing. This is the high spot, some 1,500 feet, and it's going to be a difficult day for the riders to judge. Let me tell you straight away that this rider is over 17 minutes behind on the overall classification. He lies in 47th place, and this could be the reason why the men in the bunch are not paying too much attention to him at the moment at least. Difficult race for them to judge, I think, Paul, but of course Sean Kelly, Stephen Roach, they're the riders who are going to watch each other at the moment, aren't they?
Well, Serge Demier is over 17 minutes behind on the overall classification, and as we look up the climb up between the two hills there, that's what's facing Serge Demier at the moment. But to come back to what I was saying, the teams really who have to chase are going to be Fagor and Cass. They'll try and get the chase organised, but for the moment this man isn't dangerous to them overall, so when they get over the top of the climb without disorganising the team, they'll start to arrange the chase on the descent down the valley roads, but for the moment they're giving him a little bit of a leeway.
One of the Spanish riders here, Merguialdi, I think it is having a little respite at the back of the race. The Spanish team has not had a great tour already. They've lost a rider, they've struggled a little bit, so they not have really taken part in this race at all. Well, Demier seems to be enjoying himself at least. He's been twice the champion of Switzerland, once as an amateur, once as a professional. We go back to 1983 when he picked up the professional title. He's looked over the back there to see where the group is. Well, he's seeing the whole pack, in fact, because the two chasers we saw have gone back into the main group. There is no one in between. The red jersey on the right at the front there is Rob Holden, This amazing 20-year-old, the youngest man in the race, who's holding on to that leader's red jersey as this race unwinds. And there's only a few more days to go down to the city of Westminster. Will be very, very fine indeed for Holden if he can survive what is still a lot of racing to come. The amazing thing about this race here, as we watch the third day on the Trough of Bowland, is that only a few seconds separate a lot of riders. In fact, the first 17 riders overall are only separated by 58 seconds. So really, this race could turn upside down almost at a minute's notice. There they are. You can get a little bit of the aspect of the gradient of the Trough of Bowland from my helicopter here. As it follows them up the hill, the yellow jersey riding not too far away from the front. The crowd loving every minute of this. There is a massive crowd here. This race catching on so quickly, and the crowd seems to be turning out at the most remote points of the course all day long. Just look at them now, enjoying the sight of the Swiss rider Serge Demier go up the mountain. And look at that cutting through the trough. Wonderful sight indeed. And we get a lot of letters coming into us about the beauty that the race takes, the course it takes, and it really does show everybody Britain at its very best. I'm not sure, in fact, whether Demier appreciates it quite as much as we do. Towards the summit then now for Serge, the lead over half a minute. We're hearing that information over the main pack, so he's labouring, in fact, Paul, to get the gap as he comes inside 200 metres to go.
Well, as he's coming just up to the top here, all Demier is probably thinking about is when are these service cars going to come up behind me so that I know what my time gap is, because at the moment, until he's got the team cars behind him, he probably thinks that the gap is below 30 seconds, and he's still waiting for some kind of confirmation. When he gets down on the descent, then he can start trying to build up his lead as he just comes over the top.
Well, they must have heard you, Paul, because there's the time gap come up now, 39 seconds. So the narrow roads are probably the reason that the team cars haven't joined him, because they can't get through the massive riders here at the moment. This is the chasing group coming up now, and the green jersey of Joey McLaughlin was quite evident there, and so too was the yellow jersey of Malcolm Elliott. This, of course, the last mountain climb today, so we'd expect to see Gianetti in the action sooner or later. And the rider number 50 here, who's in all sorts of trouble, is Paul Brown at the back of the race. The base, while we're looking at Stephen Roach here leading the group up towards the top. And I think that's Sean Kelly also having a go, watching everybody else go with him. But Kelly also going over the top there. He will get second place. And it looks as though Gianetti didn't score well then either. So if we can have a look now at the situation on the King of the Mountains, there it is. Demir wins 10 points. Kelly is second, Roach third, Gianetti fourth. So Sean Kelly had a great day in the mountains today. Well, we're back with the leader here now. Let's remind you, he broke away as we approached the climb of the Trough of Bowland. And now he's working to try and bring back some of the time he's lost over the last 2 days, because he started this morning over 17 minutes behind the race leader, Malcolm Elliott. And look at this. From our helicopter, we're panning back down the course. The cars in the distance there indicate the location of the main field. I don't actually see the riders. There they are, coming out of the trees, so they're just ahead of all the cars. And the gap confirmed at 3 minutes 15 seconds. So I suspect, Paul, that sort of a gap, he must be now approaching a mile in the lead.
Well, yeah, when he's gone away down the descent, Demier's had a better chance to take the corners, which is still very damp from the rain this morning. He's got a better line around the corners than this bunch, who have probably taken it a little bit more careful, because it's very dangerous on these descents, and they've let him go somewhat down the descent.
When he broke away, Paul, would he have been thinking of staying away to the finish, or just to try and win the climb over the trough?
Well, I think the kind of attack that he's launched here is really to try and get away and win the stage, because there's a lot of team tactics involved at the moment. The Fagor team are leading with third placed overall Sean Yates. Kelly's up there as well, so there's a bit of poker going on between these two teams, deciding who's going to chase, and Demier is taking advantage of this, waiting to see who'll chase, and maybe nobody will.
Well, at the moment, that does seem to be the answer, because nobody is attacking at all. The whole peloton is riding along in a tight group there, which indicates no reaction at all. We're going back along the rather bleak moorland road here today, and we're going up and up and up, and in the far distance, still no sign of Serge Demier as they roll away over the fells here of Lancashire. The countryside, which is so bleak in the winter and so beautiful, of Serge Demier, riding along British roads for a change for him. He missed the Tour de France this year, and look at this now. The gap has gone up over 5.5 minutes. So another 12 minutes on that total, only another 12 minutes, and Demir will have the yellow jersey on his shoulders. Maybe that's what he's looking for.
Well, Phil, when Demir gets to the feet here, he's got another thing to his advantage, the fact that as he goes through, he'll collect his bag, he'll put all the food into his back pocket, but behind, when the peloton comes through, it's normally absolute chaos. All the riders switching around, trying to find their bags, looking for their masseurs to get their bags, missing their bags, switching left and right to find, especially in this country at the moment, because the foreigners are feeding on the right-hand side of the road and the British riders are taking food on the left-hand side of the road. So it is absolutely sometimes total chaos for the riders.
Well, there we are, and Demir, by the way, only speaks French, and he's just shouted across the French masseur, it was, I think, of the Z Peugeot team, and it might well have been for a time check over the pack. Now, out of the bag comes the food that's been so carefully wrapped during the evening and early morning by the mechanics and masseurs, all in the back pockets. This is the main field now, led by Bernard Richard, a teammate, the 5th member of the Fagor team, and the one we haven't seen too much of during the attacking riding by that team. Here's the main field, then into the field. World champion Roach snatches the food for the day, so too Robert Miller, and there goes I think it was Bernard Richard also taking his bag. Malcolm Elliott in yellow, Sean Yates, all the men, and it looks like a problem. You heard Paul Schoen mentioning the trouble at the feeding stations generally. Well, we've got one here, because in fact little Stephen Jockin here has fallen off at the back of the group, and it looks to me as though the British champion in a little bit of pain there. Roach now riding at the front, no-handed, unpacking the food bag. And again, Paul, still no sign at all of a reaction.
Well, the riders obviously realise Demier's are nowhere overall because they'd have been informed by their team managers, and there's no time yet as Roach is coming up to offer he's offering a Mars bar to the cameraman. He's obviously got a lot of spare food today.
He's in high spirits too. He's made a couple of phone calls. That's probably ruined the race budget for the year. And now we're back with the leader here, talking to the race organiser, Alan Rushton. And one has to say what a marvellous job he does too with his team of helpers. This is an enormous lead he's built up now. It's up to 10 minutes. And Alan Rushton has probably just told that fact to Serge Demier. And by the way, when they tell the leader, they make a point too of informing the bunch behind. There's no question of cheating amongst the organisation. And there is the small computer you saw there briefly on the forks of the leader. That is calibrated to the size of the wheel. And it doesn't just tell the distance covered, you can work all sorts of things out on it. Heading off now towards Southport, and Serge Demier, there's Southport down below. And look at this now. We've jumped to 14.5 minutes, Paul. 3 more minutes, and we've got a new leader on the road. We're now working our way through the streets of Southport, and this is the biggest crowd of the race since we left Newcastle upon Tyne on Tuesday. Absolutely enormous here. We're heading for the TV time sprint, and in fact, obviously, the leading points there will go. Around the roundabout way below is the main field, and they're being led here by Steve Jones for the sprint. John Clay now taking up the running, and the white jersey of the sprint leader, Barnes, back in the action here, looking for second place, but Mark Walsham going like a train in the yellow jersey. Walsham on the outside, it looks like it's possibly Keith Reynolds here too, but Walsham gets it, and so it's Demir, Walsham. It was Alan Percy, the new professional in the ML MBK colours, who gets the third spot on the line there. We're back with the leader here then. Number 35, Serge Demier, the longest break of the Tour of Britain this week, that is for sure now. And his lead, though, is beginning to tumble, 11.9. We've turned, by the way, into a vicious headwind since we left Southport, and it looks as though that headwind is taking its toll. A split here now in the front group. We're on the outskirts of Liverpool, and this is Keith Reynolds, who's openly attacking for the ML team. Roach is come up to him. That's a little bit of a surprise, but Roach is looking for a good ride here, and it looks like Mike Doyle from nearby Chester, just over the Mersey there, is also looking for a little bit of local glory. Mike Doyle then taking up the pacemaking. Roach in second place and Reynolds in third place. Stephen Roach, by the way, a few seconds lead here could give him the yellow jersey off his teammate Malcolm Elliott, because he started the day in fourth place.
I think the reason Roach is working here is to try and take a little bit of pressure off his team and make Cass chase.
So now we've got Serge Demier approaching the circuit. In the distance there, the tower of the Liver building with the famous Liver bird on top of it. This is the city of Liverpool, and it's a Swiss rider, Serge Demier, who's bringing the whole of the Tour of Britain into the city. Here we have the chasing group that broke away on the outskirts with the whole field there. Just behind Stephen Roach in white, Mike Doyle at the back. Masked by the other two is Keith Reynolds. Doyle here from Chester. And now we're back with the leading rider on his circuits now. Something like 4 laps to go.
Well, it's still a long way to go for Demier, because in something like the last 10 miles, a rider on his own can ride at 25, 26 miles an hour and lose something like 5 or 6 minutes. As we go back to Stephen Roach here, leading the chase with Mike Doyle and Keith Reynolds sitting in there.
Well, this is a good move by Roach, because he may well steal the seconds that could suddenly switch the yellow jersey from his teammate Elliott to his. And what a comeback that would be for Stephen Roach. He couldn't really have expected to be the race leader, surely, of this race so soon into his rehabilitation. There's the leader, Serge Demier now. There's one more TV time sprint to come today. And of course, there is a couple of seconds bonus there for the winner, 3 seconds in fact. And Demier really won't need those few seconds now, because he was looking originally for 17 minutes. So this is Demier, I'm sorry, this is Stephen Roach here leading the chase, and followed by Keith Reynolds and Mike Doyle. Roach seems to be the man wanting to do most of the work here. This is the sprint for 2nd, 3rd and 4th places in the TV times. Roach wants this because he wants the 2 seconds time bonus on the line. Roach has the lead at the moment. This, by the way, is quite a nasty little climb up to the finish line. You get some impression of it there. Roach takes the 2 seconds, so that could be crucial now. There's the confirmation. Demier gets 5 points, Roach and Reynolds, but of course it's the time bonus that Stephen Roach wanted, because now if he can hold off the pack here, led by Adrian Timmis and Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle, the riders causing concern, because Joey McLaughlin's 2nd place is also in danger overall. McLaughlin on the left of our picture in that green jersey. That looks like the pocket rocket having a go, the rider that crashed at the feeding organisation. And there is the small computer you saw there briefly on the forks of the leader. That is calibrated to the size of the wheel, and it doesn't just tell the distance into his rehabilitation. There's the leader, Serge Demier now. There's one more TV time sprint to come today. And of course, there is a couple of seconds bonus there for the winner, 3 seconds in fact. And Demier really won't need those few seconds now, because he was looking originally for 17 minutes. So this is Demier, I'm sorry, this is Stephen Roach here leading the chase, and followed by Keith Reynolds and Mike Doyle. Roach seems to be the man wanting to do most of the work here. This is the sprint for second, third and fourth places in the TV times. Roach wants this because he wants the 2 seconds time bonus on the line. Roach has the lead at the moment. This, by the way, is quite a nasty little climb up to the finish line. You get some impression of it there. Roach takes the 2 seconds, so that could be crucial now. There's the confirmation. Demier gets 5 points, Roach and Reynolds, but of course it's the time bonus that Stephen Roach wanted, because now if he can hold off the pack here, led by Adrian Timmis and Gilbert Duclos-Lasalle, the riders causing concern because Joey McLaughlin's second place is also in danger overall. McLaughlin on the left of our picture in that green jersey. That looks like the pocket rocket having a go. The rider that crashed at the feeding station, Steve Jockin now. He also comes from the Isle of Man, which is just 3 hours across the water by boat here from the city of Liverpool. And now we're back with the 3 leaders on the back of the circuit. And Roach anxious now, not getting enough work rate, it seems, out of the other 2 riders. Roach is having to do a lot of the work himself.
It's amazing to notice how Stephen is riding after his break as well. 9 months out without very much competition. All the riders in the bunch at the moment are absolutely incredulized at the speed that he's can come back. He's got that pedalling back, and if you look here, he's really pedaling as he was doing in the big days when he won the Tour de France and when he won the World Championships, but really grimacing now. This is the time when he's thinking about taking the yellow jersey from the shoulders of his teammate, but it's a help to his teammate Malcolm Elliott because it's forcing the other teams to chase.
And in fact, speaking to him in French, there's the assistant race chief referee, Jerry McDade, because Demier hasn't a clue what is being said in English, and he's told him, in fact, that this chasing group is underway as well. Mike Doyle here, and Keith Reynolds and Roach. Now they're overtaking Demier here. Demier came onto this circuit. Let me explain straight away. Demier came onto this circuit 1 lap ahead. They've now pulled back the time because Demier on the circuit is losing approximately 2 minutes a lap to the chasing groups. There's the main bunch. Now 8 minutes was the advantage of Demier. That is already down now to 5 minutes, but I think it's unlikely, Paul,